Previously on Libel the Bible.
Jacob and Esau reunite after being apart for decades.
At their meeting, Jacob prostrates himself to appease Esau, who for his part seems to have forgotten his vow of vengeance against his deceiving brother and invites him back home.
However, at some point in their journey back to Canaan, Jacob gets a bad feeling and separates his caravan from Esau's and eventually makes his way to Shechem.
Jacob's daughter Dinah is lusted after and raped by a Shechem prince, who falls in love with her during his crime.
Hamor, the ruler of Shechem, strikes a deal to wed his rapist son to Dinah in exchange for the males of his city getting circumcised.
While the male residents of Shechem are recovering from their circumcisions, two of Jacob's sons rampage through the city, killing all the men and loot all the valuables as revenge for Dinah's rape.
After his son's rampage, Jacob thinks it's a good time to move on and gathers his people and belongings and leaves for Bethel, where God once again names him Israel.
On the journey to Bethel, Rachel, Jacob's true love, dies after giving birth to Jacob's 12th son.
Isaac finally dies, and Esau and Jacob bury him.
And now, episode 9 of Libel the Bible.
All right, everybody, welcome to Libel the Bible.
Oh shit, we're on the air?
I just did it, man. You're just babbling about nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm Scott.
I'm Rusty.
Yeah, how you been, Russ? Haven't seen you in a while.
I've been all right. Got back from Dominican Republic. Russia invaded Ukraine. The world's falling apart.
Yeah, but you know, at least you found time to like take a nice tropical vacation while that was going on. Way to go. Hey, keep it in perspective.
Well, in fairness, I mean, I was there before the invasion.
You knew what was coming.
I mean, I was conveniently out of the country when, everything went down.
Yeah. So I was debating about recording without you, just trying it. So I did this whole thing in my head, like how I was going to do it. And like so many things in life, I didn't really follow through, and I didn't record nothing. So
what was the plan? What were you going to record?
No, because I'm going to save it one day. Because like next time you're not around, and we had to skip a week, and I'm gonna do
you
something.
You recorded the whole show, or just your parts, and then I was going to come in like later and
I was going to leave gaps in the
right.
yeah.
I would have just ignored everything you said and just
pretty much that was the idea.
Barreled on.
Yeah. All right, so where we at? What are we doing? What's going on?
Oh my God. It's every time I sit down to read this book, I'm like, all right, we've already gone through the craziest parts. And then every time I sit down and start reading, it gets crazier and crazier. And then I start to stress out. I'm like, all right, so today we're doing Genesis 36 through 39. Mm-hmm. 36 is like nothing. We briefly touched on it last time, but I just want to get around to it because last episode I hadn't read it. You had, but it wasn't like anything
There was nothing
special.
big except for that thing about the kings.
Right.
Yeah.
So effectively we're doing Genesis 37, 38, and 39. But as I'm reading it, if you just read it without really thinking about what you're reading, there's not a lot to it. But there's so much subtext to what's on the page that I start to stress out. Like, I have to remember all of this craziness that I'm reading. Like, there's a lot of... it's only 3 chapters, but it's so crazy.
Do you remember 2020?
Sure.
It was like every day. You can't get any crazier than this, and every day it got crazier.
Right.
To the point where by the end of 2020, you're just numb to it. You don't even people will come out years from going, oh shoot, you remember when this happened? That's what you're gonna be like with the Bible too.
Yeah, I feel like we're on a steep decline. Yeah. We thought, when 2020 ended, we were like, thank God. And then 2021, and now 2022, it's just...
So you're saying us reading the Bible is a bigger decline? Like, things are getting worse because we're reading the Bible?
I'm saying it's possible that subconsciously we're preparing for the apocalypse and the final judgment.
See, again, I think you're jumping ahead, man. What apocalypse? What are you talking about? I mean, is something you mean like the Great Flood that Noah went through? That apocalypse.
I have foreseen things.
You and your foreskins.
So Genesis 36, like I said, we touched on briefly. It starts with a section titled Esau's Descendants. And basically it tells you he had like a bunch of kids with some Canaanite women. And then Esau winds up moving away. This is a little confusing, and we didn't touch on this. Esau moves away from Jacob because their possessions were too great for them to live together. You had brought that up, like you mentioned that. But here's the thing. Didn't Jacob sort of go away from Esau? He settled like near Shechem in order to get away from Esau, and then he had his own lands there. And then he fled from there to Bethel, and Bethel was the place where he had that dream about the stairway to heaven, right? While he was on the run from Esau. So Bethel seems like it was far enough away from Esau. How much land do they need that, it seems like they were far enough away from one another in distance, but for some reason Esau has to move away.
What I like about it, you don't dwell on it too much, because I think at this point now Esau's long dead, right? He's gone. So,
well, I mean, I don't know that he's dead.
Who was it? It was Esau and who? Jacob?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like Esau's kind of out of the picture at this point now. At least the next chapters.
It seems like it.
Yeah, so I think. Yeah, but there was lots of names, lots of descendants. He's got to be gone. But then Jacob's still alive,
right?
Though.
So the whole point of Genesis 36 was basically the clans and kingdoms of Edom.
Yeah,
that's like Eder. Remember Eder?
Right,
that's like the stupid version of Eden.
Right. So there was only one important line in 36. That was these are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the Israelites.
Edom, the land of cheese. I don't know. Edom cheese.
Yeah, I didn't know it last week, 2 weeks ago. I don't know it now. Retention's not very good. So,
did I make that joke already?
I don't really remember.
That tells you about my retention. So we're basically.
So this is episode 8.
We're two burnouts who can't remember anything that either I or you said.
Yeah. You didn't know who was in the room just now.
Excellent.
All right. So chapter 37, verse 1. Joseph dreams of greatness.
Joseph dreams of greatness.
And I actually thrown back. I was like, who the hell is Joseph?
By the way, before we get into this, we have to decide. Are we calling this guy Jacob, or are we calling him Israel moving forward? Because the Bible is constantly using them interchangeably. What kind of wine is that?
Yeah, it's a
Scott just opened the bottle of wine.
Yeah, it's a Chianti. Wait, I'm sorry. Or is it a Chianti? Like how you pronounce Shechem?
I don't like Chiantis.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but it's
Brunellos are good. You ever have a Brunello?
Gotta be yes. It's got to be better than that Riesling I had a couple weeks ago.
I'm not paying $65 for a bottle though.
But we went through this too. I don't know,
which is what a Brunello is. But I'm saying Brunello. You could definitely taste the difference between a Brunello and a regular $12 bottle of Chianti. Or $15 bottle.
This was $12.99, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's got a 93 rating on it. I don't know what that means. It's from a James Suckling.
Means it's 93% wine and 7% piss.
James Suckling. We'll see how he is. All right. See if we can trust his opinion on anything going forward.
So what do we calling him moving
forward? We're gonna name him. We're gonna call him whatever this particular chapter names him.
But it uses Jacob and Israel interchangeably. Sometimes it's Jacob, sometimes it's Israel.
But is it possible that these stories are out of order?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so maybe he hasn't done this, and maybe just they lost sight of exactly where everything was.
Okay, so let's say Genesis 32 was written by author A, and Genesis 36 was written by author B. We're talking about Genesis 37. Just in Genesis 37, they use two different names. Are there different authors?
Co-authors? It's like when you watch your favorite show, when you see like in the beginning credits, like there's 4 writers, know it's going to be a shit
But it's
episode.
almost like whoever edited the book and put it together didn't even fucking bother reading it.
Do you think bookbinders of the day were literate and could read, or they were just instructed to like put these leaves in this binder and
The actual binders?
yeah,
I don't know.
because it's like I don't know.
Well, when the Bible was written, I don't know. I guess there was book binding, but most books were written by monks. Like, you ever hear the word illumination?
Yeah.
Like that's what it was called. So the monks would sit like at the desks and they would have like texts. Like the Crusaders would bring back books from like their crusades in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. So like a lot of like Europeans were reading books from the Middle East because the Middle East really was advanced in like terms of science at that time and things like that. And so the monk's job was to basically sit all day and create these beautiful like manuscripts, these like illustrated gold leaf, like
calligraphy and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And that was called illumination. I don't know if those books were bound.
So did illumination mean to bring light like it does now? It was just a different type of light, like the light of knowledge.
I mean, sure, that's a good guess. I don't know, but that's
maybe they worked at night and they had to use torches. They had to illuminate the room. So I'm gonna go illuminate. Which was like code for I gotta go write some words.
They definitely like worked all day. It's amazing the attention span. If the internet was around, there's no way they would be able to sit in a room all day long, focused on one task. You know what I mean? Like in today's world, there's no way monks could just do that.
No, they could because they
got to check the Pope's Twitter feed.
No, they'd be getting so much positive feedback from everybody out there. Like everything would be so good and so
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. So Jacob settles in Canaan, and his son Joseph is 17. So I said, as soon as I saw that, I was like, wait, I know the name Joseph. It sounds like important. Then I was like, is Mary and Joseph the ones that give birth to Jesus? So we don't know that yet, but
well, Joseph doesn't give birth.
Yeah, well, in today's vernacular, like, we're pregnant, So I actually, when I saw this, I was like, I wonder if this is the guy with the Technicolor Dreamcoat. Remember that growing up? Those commercials?
Sure, they had like the Broadway plays.
That's the only thing I know. Wasn't it just a Broadway play? There was other.
I don't know.
Technicolor.
I'm sure they made a movie. I'd be willing to bet there's a movie.
I'm going to be willing to bet as bonus content, we should start reviewing like the movies and stuff too.
Oh, for sure. We're going to have to get to like The Last Temptation of Christ and like The Passion of the Christ.
Where's the one that Mel Gibson's in and he harasses that state trooper that pulls him over?
That's The Passion of the Christ.
It's weird that
do you know what The Passion of the Christ is specifically?
It was in Aramaic, I think, so didn't really understand it.
No, I don't mean just the movie. I mean the phrase. The Passion of the Christ is an actual phrase in Christianity, Catholicism.
No.
So if you go into a church,
yeah.
Venture, lest you venture into a church ever.
No, I meant because it's a different terminology. The go into means something different.
Oh,
so to go into a church, yeah.
Well, in fairness, fuck the church.
Oh.
So when you go into a church, it's Catholic church. I'm not sure other denominations. They'll have somewhere on the wall portraits of the Passion of the Christ. And I forgot how many stages, maybe 12. It's basically from the time that he's arrested to the time that he's crucified. It's like all the stages that he went through. So like,
I don't think we should be talking about
it's like shit. One portrait might be like a whipping, another portrait is like him being stabbed, like, in the ribs.
I don't think we should be talking about this.
So that's the Passion of the Christ. I mean, you brought up Passion of the Christ, or I brought it up, or whoever brought it up. We can't remember.
It was only 3 minutes ago.
So, Israel's son, Joseph, right, who you're talking about, he's 17 years old, and he's a little fucking snitch.
Man.
Kid's a snitch.
Yo, for real. So he's out in the flock, in the pasture with his brothers.
Yeah, he's like the youngest son.
Yeah, and they're his father loved him like the most.
Yeah.
He makes him this robe with sleeves.
Well, not yet. Not yet.
You're right. He snitches on his brothers
He
first.
snitches on his brothers.
And by snitching, like, he just reports, like, any shenanigans they're doing.
Yeah,
probably.
like they're up to no good.
They're horsing around.
Whatever that is, right?
Yeah. Jerk.
Dad. Yeah. So, Dad, like, you
and
know.
What is he doing? What are the other brothers doing while he's snitching on them? They're probably still doing more work than this little guy is.
It says he's working for Israel's concubines, right? Like he's like sort of working for them. But whatever, yeah. So he's like out in the field. He's like, Dad, wasn't milking the goat. I saw him like, you know, playing with his balls behind the tree. Whatever.
Yeah. So his brothers hate him. Especially, but then his dad loves him for some reason, and he makes him this robe.
Yeah, he makes him a robe. Like what? Like he sits down at like a spindle and like
Fruit of the Loom, man.
And not only is it a robe, it is like a Liberace robe, apparently. It is magnificent.
Yeah, I mean, he's got pigments in this thing.
Magnificent.
Yeah, it was a footnote on it. So, yeah, this was the Technicolor Dreamcoat, I guess.
Yeah, so it's a multicolored,
and
like long, it's kind of a robe. Was it described as a coat or a robe?
A robe.
I think a robe. Right, a robe.
And this fool walks out into the field to check on his brothers wearing a robe.
His dad's like Paulie and Rocky. Like, you know, he gets him the robe, and it's like consolidated meats on the back or whatever. It is. Or like in this case it would be like the God of Israel, whatever, you know. Sponsored by
like a
sponsored by Abraham's God. So the brothers see the robe and they like freak the fuck out. Like they don't like it because they're kind of like, yo, Daddy loves what's this guy's name? Joseph. Yeah. Daddy loves Joseph, and we might get fucked like out of our inheritance.
You know what's crazy? Well, if this book has shown anything, there hasn't been any history of favoritism towards one child causing a problem.
Not at all. Everyone's treated equally. So, all right. So Joseph is going to fall into this pattern where I believe you used the term in an earlier episode. He cannot read the room on any level, right? So he shows up with this robe. Everyone's already pissed off. So what does he do?
He makes it worse. He goes, yo, guys, I had a dream. We were out here tying up the sheaves, which I had to look up. I didn't know what a sheaf was.
Yeah, I looked it up also.
Yeah, and he was talking about sheaves, I guess, just like the rows of corn or the wheat or whatever, and I guess maybe you got to bind them together and so they grow. And he had a dream that his grew tall, rose up, and the sheaves of his brothers bowed down.
Yeah, they gathered around it and bowed down to his sheaf.
So yeah, it's just a dream, so it could be weird. It's not like, you know.
So then his brothers say in Genesis 37, verse 8, his brothers said to him, "Are you indeed to reign over us? Are you indeed to have dominion over us?" So they hated him even more because of his dreams and his words. That's the Bible quote. That wasn't like me adding that in. So, okay, so he tells them about this dream. They literally say to him, like, you know, all snotty, like, what are you saying? You're going to, like, rule over us?
Which I wouldn't take from that dream, but he must have inferred other things to lead that. But the next dream...
Yeah, so then he already knows they're all worked up over the code, over this dream, over their father's favoritism of him. So he comes back to them, and in Genesis 37, verse 9, he says, "Look, I have had another dream. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." Scott, do you remember how many kids Israel had?
12.
12. What do you suppose these 11 stars bowing down?
When Jacob was like, "Yo, dude, what are you trying to say? You're gonna have dominion over all of us?" I had to go back and reread it, and I went, "Oh, sun and moon, mother and father, and 11 stars were his brothers." And yeah, what a prick.
So he's pissing them off.
I said it again.
And it leads us to the next section, which is called "Joseph is sold by his brothers." I mean, it's only logical, right?
Yeah. And it's great because it starts off with his father knowing that his son's a snitch. He's like, "Yo, go out to the field, see what your brothers are doing. You know, basically go knock on them." And he does, but doesn't find them.
Right. So his brothers are like out somewhere. They went. Actually, they were near Shechem. I don't know why they would venture that far, and I don't know why they would go back to the scene of the crime because
What crime?
Shechem is the city where the men were circumcised, and then Jacob's sons
They wanted to get away from it all. There was nobody there, right?
So either one, they didn't flee that far away. You know, they're like right around the corner.
There's a place called Dothan.
So anyway, they are near Shechem.
Listen, so they went to Dothan, and you know, a lot of Dothan spies lost their lives to bring us this information.
That's a Star Wars reference, ladies and gentlemen.
This wine sucks.
Yeah, it's wine. How far in are you?
4 sips.
You'll be all right. By the second glass, it'll taste fine.
Yeah.
So they're away. They're away from where they live, tending sheep, and Israel sends Joseph after them. Like, go find out what they're doing. So he like gets to town. He's like, I don't know where they are. So some old man like I don't even know what the purpose of that passage was. Like, why waste all that time on the old man? Like,
No, it was like he
told them where they were
around. Yeah, he goes, yeah, tells them where they're over there in Dothan.
So he shows up.
Wait. Before he shows up, one of the brothers sees him coming and goes, "Would you look at this dreamer?"
So he shows up, and the brothers see him coming. Right.
Would you look at this dreamer? Yo, let's kill him.
Yeah. They're like, oh shit, here comes Joseph, like fucking idiot dreamer. Yo, we should totally kill him. So Reuben, one of the brothers, was like, you know, in verse 22 of Genesis 37, Reuben said to them, "Shed no blood. Throw him into this pit here in the wilderness, but lay no hand on him, that he might rescue him out of their..." So he wanted to rescue.
He wanted to like bring him home to daddy. Going, look what I've did. I
Yeah,
rescued
he
him.
wanted to save him.
I wonder if we encounter Reuben again because you know that's kind of treacherous. I mean,
Well, it's
wait. Do you think
it's not that treacherous.
Do you think he actually truly wanted to save him, or he wanted to curry favor with his father and say, "Look, I saved Joseph"?
It's a good point. I didn't think of it.
I was thinking he was totally devious. Like he doesn't give a shit about Joseph. He just wanted to curry favor with dad.
It's possible, but it's also possible that he has brotherly love for him. I mean, Joseph has 11 brothers, right? I mean,
At least one of them had to be like, whoa, we're not killing nobody.
yeah. Even if all 11 resented the love that Jacob had for Joseph, it doesn't mean that like all 11 of them were just like willing to murder him.
Yeah.
So either way, whether it was to curry favor with daddy or to save the brother, he was like, let's not kill him. Let's fucking throw him in this pit.
Yeah. And he gets thrown in that pit.
So they take his robe and they throw him in the pit. And the next reasonable thing to do is sit down and eat lunch. So they all sit down and eat lunch while their brother is in a pit, like near them.
Do you think they're drinking alcoholic beverages at this point? Like they're just guys at a bar hanging out for lunch, talking stupid.
I think most people were probably like drinking
Oh yeah,
all the
you
time.
mentioned that, yeah, because the water sucked, so they had to.
I mean, maybe they have like clean river water, you know what I mean? But yeah, in general, like people were drinking beer.
You mean the?
But I don't know. Back then, I
You
don't
got to
know.
find the one river where the factory
I don't
wasn't
know how
dumping the stuff in.
Yeah. Well, corporations didn't exist yet.
Oh right.
It was all like, you know, natural oxen dung or
Oxen dung.
goat dung.
A raft of oxen.
So he's in this. He's got to be screaming while they're eating lunch, right? I can't imagine it's a pleasant lunch to have because he's in a pit that he can't get out of. He has no food, no water. Like they've taken his robe from him.
Oh, that's why they're out by Shechem. There's nobody around to hear him scream.
So you think they planned this ahead of time?
It's like they definitely. Well, no, I don't know if they planned it ahead of time.
That's That's what do you call it? Premeditated murder. That gets you the death penalty.
Yeah.
So he's in the hole.
Check him. Nobody can hear you
He's screaming. And they see like a caravan of Ishmaelites.
Yeah.
And immediately they're like, why are we going to just like leave him in the hole and get nothing when we can sell him for 20 pieces of silver?
Which to me seems like 20 silver pieces
I
sounds like a lot.
Yeah? I looked it up. I was like, what were 20 pieces of silver in like Bible times? That's like $400. So they sold...
But is that $400
back then?
Back then, which was how many dollars now?
$400 in today's money.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean. It's $400 in today's money.
Split 11 ways. Yeah, it seems like maybe shit was just really cheap back then, though.
Well, maybe it was split 10 ways because they wind up selling him into slavery.
Yeah, and they didn't tell Reuben.
But where was Reuben? Did he run back to Daddy?
I don't know. Maybe he was just wrestling with his conscience. Like, how was he going to handle this? What's he going to do?
So, yeah, the Bible just mentions, like, they throw him in the pit. They all sit down to have lunch. But it doesn't say that Reuben left the scene because when they were conspiring to sell him off to, like, these, to this caravan of Ishmaelites, where was Reuben during all this? So, in any event, they sell him. Reuben comes back, and he's like, where the fuck is, Joseph?
Guy, yeah. He comes back with his robe, right?
What?
Comes back with his robe because they...
No, they had the robe. Right, and then what did they do with the robe?
They said, they killed a goat. They bloodied up the robe.
They tore up the robe. So
now they're covering up the crime.
It looked like, a mauling. They made it look like he was mauled by an animal.
Yeah.
They go back home and they tell Jacob, like, they show him the robe.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is what happened to your son.
And they get graphic. They're like, surely he was torn to pieces.
Yeah, well, Jacob says that. Like, he's just immediately like, he got mauled. Yeah. And so, in Genesis 37... Do you
think one of the kids was like, maybe if he wasn't wearing that Technicolor fucking coat attracting animals, it wouldn't have happened, huh?
Yeah, he was not camouflaged. He was not, like, prepared for hunting.
Yeah.
What's that movie with Ben Stiller where he plays like the supermodel?
Couldn't tell you a single movie with Ben Stiller.
Yeah, it's kind of
like
that.
He was in that Night at the Museum, right?
He showed up like he came from like a coal mining family in Pennsylvania, and like his modeling career wasn't going great,
Sounds
and
awful.
so he had to like go back home and find himself, like one of those scenes. So he shows up to like where his dad is coal mining, and he's dressed in like some Versace like coal miner like tight outfit, and he's like strutting through the mines. That's what Joseph is like. Joseph is out in the field like flitting about like in his robe.
If Joseph reminds me of anything like Ben Stiller, I can see it's justified throwing him in a pit.
You're not a Ben Stiller fan?
I just don't know any of his work.
Zoolander, that's the movie.
Don't know it.
Yeah. So anyway. I like some of it. It's like silly, but it's not bad. So in Genesis 37, verse 34, when Jacob finds out about what happens to his son, here's what it says. Then Jacob tore his garments and put sackcloth on his loins and mourned for his son many days. So I had to look up what sackcloth was.
I assume that was the robe.
No. Sackcloth is like this really coarse fabric.
Like burlap, I would think. Right?
And so he tears off his clothes and he puts sackcloth on his loins, meaning like his private area.
Well, loins is really from the bottom of the rib cage to the hip area, including the groin area. So it's your midsection.
So basically, he decides he's going to torture himself.
Oh, I didn't understand. Oh, because it's rough material? Like he's going to be in pain now?
Right. Oh. So he decides, I can imagine, like, I can only imagine what it must be like to lose a child like that. However, it's like completely opposed to everything else that's happened in the Bible. Like, parents don't seem to really respond emotionally all that much.
When your parents force you to get your exorcism, your circumcision at age 13.
I wish it was an exorcism.
What if they had also made you wear a sackcloth after that? All right, so he sandpapers his privates, for whatever reason.
And That's the end of that chapter.
I'm sorry, I just looked over it and like you were flipping through pages of like how many pages did you just flip?
Just one.
Oh, it seemed. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just flipped one.
Were you having trouble with it? So it looked like you were doing it multiple times. Looked like you were looking through a whole book over there. All right.
No, I don't know. Is it stressing you out?
Nah, it was just caught my eye. I don't know. No, it's not. So okay. So he's yeah. What happens next?
Scott, look at me.
No.
Relax.
All right, I'm good.
Relax.
Need some more of this Chianti.
Feeling good.
No, I know what you're gonna do. All right, so now let's fast forward to where Joseph is.
So we're to Joseph. No, we're on Genesis 38. We're not on Joseph. Joseph doesn't show up again until Genesis 39.
No. Well, no.
Oh, okay.
He gets the stalactites take him to Egypt.
My bad.
And then they sell him again.
Hold on. I want to take this moment while we're recording and acknowledge that I was wrong. That way in the future, when you tell me that I never admit when I'm wrong, we could play this back. What's the timestamp?
I don't know. After I edit out 15 minutes of your nonsense, we're only about 6 minutes in.
All right. So
they realize either this guy's not worth it.
Yeah.
So the stalactites sell him in Egypt. And I assume they got more silver than they paid for him. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if they figure out he's not worth it. I think like they're traders, so they bought him. They're like they're like the Jawas. You know what I mean?
Oh, all right, like the Orion Syndicate.
Like you like that Star Wars reference from Rusty? Huh? The Jawas?
Yeah, because a power droid and a protocol droid is as important as a human.
It's
life.
more than that. They're nomadic. They wander through deserts.
Yeah, you're right.
I think that was a good analogy. I think it was quite apt.
Do you think when they saw Joseph, they were like, "Oh, titty"?
I don't know what that is. Is that the sound they make?
Oh, shut up! Everybody knows that's the sound they make. Yeah, so they take him to Egypt.
So they take him to the Tuscan Raiders.
They take him to the Tuscan Raiders. They sell him to no other than Pharaoh's captain of the guard. And again, they don't say the Pharaoh. Pharaoh is a person. That's not a title yet, I don't think. I don't think the title is not. It's not a title yet.
So you are saying that when we read about Abraham and Pharaoh, this is now many years later.
It could be.
It's the Pharaoh. I'm pretty sure it's the Pharaoh at this point.
All right, we'll let our listeners chime in with that. They haven't answered. Yeah, so they sell them to the captain of the guard.
I think you're giving too much credit to the listeners. I don't think they know shit.
I will ask all three of them when I get a chance.
Actually, I'm looking forward. We're almost at 500 listens.
Listen, man, that person you're paying to hit the refresh button constantly, I think it's going to be revealed eventually.
It's an Indian bot farm. So, all right. So he gets sold to like someone high up in the Pharaoh's organization.
Yeah.
So that's the last.
That's we hear for now.
That's what we know at this point, which gets us to Genesis 38, Judah and Tamar.
Yes.
Another lovely family. They should make a Hallmark movie just from this section.
Yeah. All right. So now Judah and Shua have 3 sons.
Judah, I just like gloss over the names. Like there's so many names.
Yeah, well, I mean,
you can't keep up with it. It's
everybody has a name.
So there are certain characters that are consequential and certain characters that are not. Mm-hmm. I can't like invest my time in learning 95% of the names because
the problem you don't know if they're going to be consequential until you read a little further. So
I don't.
And I'm not saying you got to remember for a long time, but you read it 2 hours ago.
I can't even remember what we said 15 minutes ago.
Right. So Judah and Shua have 3 sons.
What? Judah and who?
Shua.
That's the Adullam woman. No, she was a Canaanite. So he moves, right? He goes to Adullam. Oh, wait, Judah. We're talking about Judah, right?
Yeah, Judah. Anyway, I'm going to just carry this for now. So their 3 sons.
I'm going to sit back for a little bit.
They decide to get the first one, E-R,
yeah,
a wife. So they get him Tamar. And apparently is God, the Lord feels he's wicked, so he dies.
Well, yeah.
So now,
God kills him. He doesn't
no,
like him.
No. See, I was thinking, no. That's just some story they told. Oh, he was wicked, so God killed him. It's like the gossip around town. No,
Right.
maybe he just was sick. Maybe he had like a congenital disorder or something, or maybe it was an accident, or maybe like he was just sick, man, and he just died. There was nothing wicked about him.
Well, I'm not really suggesting that God killed someone.
Why would you not suggest that?
I'm saying in the story, God killed him.
Oh yeah, okay, it does say
You're
that, but
discussing
yeah,
reality. Right. In reality, none of this happened.
Whose reality? Yours or mine?
What's that? What's the reference?
There was some, I don't know, Kentucky Fried Movie or an airplane or something 4 years ago. I don't know.
4 years ago.
So now Judah, like any good father-in-law would do, tells one of his other sons, Onan, go do your brother-in-law duty and get up in that piece and get her pregnant.
So I have this part highlighted in Genesis 38.
That's not surprising.
Verse 8. Then Judah said to Onan, go into your brother's wife and perform the duty of a brother-in-law to her.
Duty.
Raise up offspring for your brother. So I didn't realize the duty of a brother-in-law is to his brother, right? I didn't know it was his duty to bang his sister-in-law and get her pregnant.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if you're devious and you like your brother's wife, you're going to push him off a cliff or something. Like somehow he's not coming back from the road trip.
So, okay.
Oh, got to do what I got to do.
So then it continues in verse 9.
Yeah.
But since Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, he spilled his semen on the ground whenever he went into his brother's wife. All right, Scott, let me ask you a question.
Before you ask that question,
go ahead.
Why was the kid not going to be his?
So in the Jewish tradition, just so you know,
and don't get me wrong, I want to talk about the semen.
Yeah. So one, they're not Jews yet, right? I guess like the term Jews, has that been mentioned yet?
I don't think so.
Like Hebrew has been mentioned, right? Abraham the Hebrew. Yeah. Jew hasn't been mentioned, but in the Jewish tradition, and I'm assuming it goes back here too, you trace a child's lineage to the mom because you know for sure the mom gave birth to that child. Right. The amount of sex that these men are having with all these different women, who knows, which man fathered any given child.
Wait a minute. Is it also possible that he wanted, as soon as that dude died, he wanted her to get her pregnant so they can claim it was the dead son's
Oh, that's
kid?
an excellent point, too.
So he has a legacy?
That's an excellent point. That's very possible. So he's not like a bastard.
Right.
All right. That's a great point. So, okay. So he knows that the kid's not going to be attributed to him. So, okay. Here's the thing. So he's just like...
He's pulling out.
He goes in and he's banging her. And then he's pulling out. Here's the thing.
He ain't going to get stuck with that for 18 years, man.
Notice how he's not like, let's just pretend that we're doing it because I don't want to get you pregnant. No, he's like fully...
He's still a dude.
He's fully involved in the situation. Now, did Tamar know that he was pulling out? She must have, right?
I don't know. It could have been...
No, she must have known. Come on.
Maybe she didn't feel much. Maybe it was dark. And there's probably so much dirt and dust and crap on the floor that it probably just got absorbed into the floor right away. So by the time the sun came up, there was no stain.
So did he pretend to finish in her and then, pull out?
Do you think there was a pile of socks in the corner, all nasty, that he was like, I'll take care of the laundry?
I think there was just because they were probably using pine wood for the floors, some cheap wood, and it was probably a section of it that was just completely moist and sticky and just started started seeping through.
Yeah, it's a lot of semen.
So, all right, so he's dropping loads on the ground. And in verse 10, Genesis 38, it says, what he did was displeasing in the sight of the Lord, and he put him to death also.
Right. So does that lead to this whole stigma of masturbation now? Like ejaculating not to impregnate somebody is frowned upon?
So here's the weird part. I also, at first I was like, if these are the verses where that stems from, it's silly because it's not so much about the masturbation. It's about the deception that's being performed.
Because you're deceiving your penis?
Because you're deceiving the woman that you're with, and you're not.
Oh, okay. All right. So he wasn't punished for
all parties involved, Judah, Tamar, right? They're expecting this guy to like drop a load in her, knock her up so she can have a child. And he is entering her, but he's obviously not finishing in her. And so he's deceiving her. So it's not. So I can view it that way instead of saying, well, God punished him because he's wasting his seed. God might be punishing him not because he's wasting his seed.
For the deception. Okay, you know what? That's fair enough. He deserves it then. Because I guess at this time, the only time to have sex is to procreate. Oh, no. The only time to have sex with your dead brother's wife is for procreation.
So see, I think I would make a better preacher because...
Than who?
Than real preachers who are, because they're authoritarian and need you to follow their words. They tell you...
ever listen to Joel Osteen?
They tell you these sections. Oh my God, I try sometimes. It's unlistenable to. Well, that's also...
I disagree.
That's also like the gospel of prosperity. He almost ignores everything that Jesus ever really said about like accumulation of wealth and possessions and like preaches the gospel of prosperity, which anyway. So look, I'm interpreting this section in a favorable light. And I think if people listen to me preach, they would be, the world would be better because I would tell them what this is teaching us is don't deceive people, act faithfully and honestly.
Right. They're not having sex to have fun. That's
right.
Not what the whole point of this was.
But
so, okay.
Authoritarians tell you don't masturbate, It's evil to masturbate, and here's like the reason why.
Oh, so you think this has been perverted into...
It's about controlling people, It's about like creating these like arbitrary rules of control.
Well, I'm going to keep a keen eye out for masturbation stories in the Bible to see if this is where it came from.
All right. So, another one of Judah's sons is murdered by God.
And you know what?
And by the way, shouldn't there be rules? There should be rules, right? Like when you have children, you can't just arbitrarily punish them for things that they didn't know. So like if a child does something bad and you haven't spoken to the child about that.
Ignorance is not a defense. Maybe for a child it is. But.
Well, these are children, and especially in the eyes of God. I mean, I don't know what you're arguing right now.
I'm not really
So
arguing.
you're saying God is justified in striking this man down.
I'm just trying to understand why. Like, all right, so he was being deceitful, and he kept going at it because...
He was expected to.
He was
obeying his dad.
Like I said... Man, he ain't paying that bill for 18 years, and he didn't want no play. He had a whole life in front of him. He didn't want to deal with that. And not even be able to claim.
He ain't messing with no gold digger.
Because he couldn't claim it, but I bet you on his tax returns he had to, or whatever.
So all right, so now he's dead too. So Judah tells Tamar, the woman, the widow, twice over now. Well, I guess not once over. She didn't marry this other kid. So he tells her, go live with your dad until my son Shella grows up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know how old Shella is, but he's already got someone lined up. And she agrees, like any normal woman would. She's going to go back to her dad's house and...
Wait a minute. You made that you said that as a joke, but in all seriousness... I'd get the fuck as far from this family as I could. Like, yeah, bye. I'm going home.
Yeah, but it's going to turn out she gets like pissed off.
Yeah.
Because
this family's deceitful again.
Years go by, and Shella grows up, and now he's old enough to marry her. But like nothing happens. Judah's not arranging any kind of marriage.
Yeah. So Judah says, like, you know what? I'm gonna go hang out with my friend over there and shear his sheep, and I'll see you later. And then what's her name?
Well, Judah's wife dies, right? So like,
oh yeah,
his wife dies. So now he's like a bachelor. So he kind of goes for like,
whoa, he grieves. He grieves for a while.
He grieves, okay. Yeah. And then like when his grieving is done, he takes a buddy of his and they go like on an Atlantic City style like road trip, right? Yeah. Like they go somewhere, and she finds out about this Tamar, the widow, and she gets like dressed up like
a hoe.
Yeah, she gets dressed up like a prostitute and with a face covering. You think what? Like it made it sound to me like that was normal for prostitutes to cover their face.
Yeah, maybe because it was probably
protect like shame, like protect
reputation, and maybe it was a crime. I think it was a crime, as we get to later. Yeah, it might have been a crime.
All right, so you want to tell this story?
Well, you got the gist of it. So she gets dressed up like a prostitute, and she goes to the path that he's taking to Atlantic City.
She goes and hangs out like in Times Square, basically. Like she knows she's gonna run into him like in this like section.
Yeah. So she puts on her prostitute ways, and he of course can't resist when he comes across.
He's on a bachelor weekend.
He was like, "Let me come into you," and she's like, "Okay, what do I get in return?" And he's like, "A kid." He meant a baby goat, but he didn't have the baby goat with him.
Maybe pun intended.
Yeah. Maybe he didn't have the goat with him, so she was like, well, "No, dude, I need collateral."
I need a deposit.
Whatever, So
she's gonna get more than one deposit.
That's a sex joke. So she takes his staff, his signet, and his cord.
That's another pun. She takes his staff. She does take his staff. She's gonna take his staff.
Yeah. So
and his cord.
So he goes into her, and shocking, she gets pregnant because apparently fertility is not an issue unless you're like wicked.
You know what a signet is, by the way? I looked it up. I had to look it up.
I've played a massively multiplayer online role playing games, and I see like some loot is signets, and I don't really know what it is. It's like a brooch or something. Or?
It's basically like it's a piece of jewelry in old times when like you would send like communication back and forth. You would put like your seal on it so they know like it's official. It's from you. That's like so that's what the signet was. So the signet and the cord were like something that he would wear around his neck. Apparently,
I thought the cord was a belt, but I guess
it was like apparently from what I read from that description, it hung around his neck. So she took like the signet, so that means like it's his, like everybody would know.
I was going to say, now it makes more sense because that's like that's his ID. That's his ID.
That's exactly it, right? It's like she took his DNA. Like in today's terms,
the last thing you give to some prostitute on the side of the road is your driver's license.
It's like Monica Lewinsky's blue dress, with Clinton's like, come on.
Yeah, I got the reference.
I mean, and that's not funny.
No, it was just weird. That wasn't funny.
It's weird that I said it, or it's weird that she kept the dress that Bill Clinton came on.
I don't know. I don't know.
Or that Bill Clinton was coming on like an intern, like in the Oval Office. It's all weird.
It's a bit of a false equivalency, I think. But anyway, so he gets her pregnant, and then she scoots.
Bill Clinton got Monica Lewinsky pregnant?
No, he got this prostitute pregnant, but in Atlantic City.
Remember Linda Tripp? She was she was the rat.
Yeah. There's a Family Guy episode when Bill Clinton decides to prank call Linda Tripp, and it does not go funny at all. Check it out. All right. Sure, it's on that.
After we record, play it for me.
The YouTubes. Wait. All right, so she gets pregnant, and then she skulks back to town.
Yeah, she disappears while Judah goes to get the goat to pay her. So like he's totally gonna pay her.
Yeah, but it's a couple months. 3 months go by.
Oh, is that what? Oh, because I guess he's got to go back home.
No. That's right. Wait a minute. No, he probably did it right away. And then when
Yes.
they went to drop the kid off, they couldn't find her.
Correct.
Right.
And then
3 months passes.
Then 3 months pass. He finds out that she's a whore.
Yeah, because somebody comes and goes, "Yeah, what the hell's her name again? Tamar."
Yeah, Tamar.
So Tamar.
I mean, I don't know. Tamar. I'm saying Tamar.
a good, solid Cardassian name.
Tamar.
Tamar. Yeah.
Could be Klingon.
You're so
Not
dumb.
enough. Not
You're
enough.
so dumb, man.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Why?
Klingon. Anyway,
Whoa.
Tamar is clearly a Cardassian name.
Why?
Because it rhymes with Damar, who is one of the best characters ever. Anyway, dude.
Sorry.
So, edit this out.
You're going to edit out a Star Trek reference?
No, I'm going to...
Are you all right? How much have you drank?
Not much. It's not really that good. No, I'm pointing off the editing on you without you realizing it.
I don't edit anything out.
So,
it's all in.
That's what she said. Yeah. So anyway, she gets pregnant, and 3 months later, somebody rats her out and like starts screaming like she's a whore. She did whoredom things. She did stuff for the whore trade.
So, of course, as any like normal human, Judah was like, let's burn her.
Let's burn her.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying what she did wasn't a crime,
Yeah.
or it was punishable by being burned alive.
Mm-hmm.
Sick, by the way. Why is he so quick to do it? You figured he'd be like, let somebody else make that decision because I frequent prostitutes, apparently. I should have a soft spot in my heart for her.
She belongs to him. She belongs to his house. Like when women marry like into a
Put
family,
shame on his house.
he probably paid for her, like he gave her dad like goats and whatever else, like, the dowry.
Just like some honor killing bullshit.
Actually, I thought it was the other way around. Like, because women are useless, you know what I mean? Like, from their point of view, like the father of the woman has to give like the other family, like, please take my daughter
dowry.
off my hands.
Yeah, and a dowry, have some goats. And
Well, in any event, she's probably like Judah's property, and he's like, she has brought shame on the family. Let's burn her.
all right, which is really funny because when they go to get her, she comes out with the staff, the signet, and the cord, and goes, just so you all know, whoever this stuff belongs to, that's who did this to me.
Yeah. And
The gig is up.
he owns up to it, right? Like, he doesn't even deny it. He
Said I would have gotten
away.
away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
He says, I'm in the wrong.
She's more right than me.
She's more right than me.
And and then what?
And then nothing. She gives birth, right?
I just love how Judah's like, yeah, you're right. Wait, motherfucker, you were just gonna burn me. And now when you find out it's you that did this to me, we're just gonna like, you're right. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, he is the son of Jacob, who was the son of Isaac, whose dad was going to murder him up on a mountain. So it's not like this family isn't used to these kinds of like murdering situations. So Tamar probably knew what she was getting into. Because I'm assuming the family tradition is being passed down, right? How else would the person who wrote this know about any of what goes on? So it's like this oral tradition that gets passed down. So Tamar at some point knew that, like, her husband's great-grandfather was almost murdered by his dad at some point.
So you think they have a genetic predisposition to basically acting crazy?
Well, it seems like God thinks everyone's crazy, because remember after...
He might not be wrong in this case.
I mean, after Noah's Ark, he was like, fuck it, I'm not going to kill anymore because it's just people are just like crazy and they're shitty and I'm just going to have to learn to accept it. So what I'll do is I'll find like a man who I find worthy. But the problem is the man that he found worthy to create like great nations wasn't like that moral and upstanding, and neither are any of his descendants. It's just the family is very dysfunctional.
Is it possible we're being a little harsh? Because you only remember the bad shit. Nobody remembers all the good things that happened. So they do have chapters in here where it's just generations of names. Apparently they acted okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it skips like a certain amount of generations before the crazy comes out.
I mean, I guess it's like the news, if it bleeds, it leads. So it's like whoever wrote the Bible, they're only who wants to read about like
If it bleeds,
people who aren't raping and people who aren't murdering. Where's the story in that?
if it bleeds, it sits on the saddle covering up an egg beater. I think we learned.
What's
Because
that
she's in the
from?
way of a woman. She's hiding the home goods.
Yes. Yes.
It was only 3 weeks ago.
I thought we've already established numerous times.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I remember is the fact that we've established that we can't remember. So he wants to kill her, and she, as you mentioned, just shrugs it off like, oh, okay. And then gives birth to twins. And then it's another wacky like story about like first one arm came out.
I think this was interesting. So
Explain.
No, I don't think so much. I think it was interesting that the
Make me care.
I'm not going to make you care.
No, go ahead. I want you to make me care about it.
That's a lot of pressure.
You
on
found
me.
it interesting. I mean,
didn't
it's
say
a
I can't.
podcast.
All right,
Tell an interesting story.
this is the most interesting story. All right, so she gives birth, and there's twins. So the first one pops out, an arm pops out, and what I thought was interesting was they tied a crimson thread around the kid's wrist to indicate he was the firstborn.
Right.
Because that means something in these times.
Okay.
Firstborn son means something.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, now you're interested.
I didn't even think of that.
So he pulls his hand back in. He's like, "Ooh, it's cold out here," and he pushes the other kid out. or he's like, "This family sucks. I want no part of this." Because as the firstborn, you're almost obligated to carry on the craziness.
Yeah,
Secondborn, you're going to be treated like shit anyway.
Why would you want to leave a vagina like if you didn't have
Warm
to?
and cozy, yeah. So he goes back in. The other kid comes out. So now we know something. I mean, they're foreshadowing something about this story because the firstborn actually, is it technically the firstborn? I don't know, right?
It's
That's
definitely
interesting.
Yeah, you did make it interesting. All right,
I didn't make it interesting. I'm just reading what's on the page.
I'm just the way you interpret it and explained it to me, because again, there's a lot of subtext going on, right?
Well, what did you think the red thread was for?
I didn't really think about it. Like, I didn't care.
So nobody steals the kid from the maternity ward?
Bro, we had just gone through a section in which, like, a father-in-law forces his son to have sex with, like, a widow. And then he... Think about what we just talked about.
Right.
It seems like this was like, all right, fucking 2 kids are born.
Yeah. I like the fact that they tagged the kid. I think that was pretty cool. I think that was a good records keeping thing. I think that was,
It's like, after the end of Comfortably Numb, you kind of like mute the radio for a little while. You don't need to hear like another song right after Comfortably Numb.
But you don't walk out thinking that's the end of the concert either.
No, well, that's at the concert. Well, right. That's at the concert. But on the radio, I like to I like to give myself a cigarette break after Comfortably Numb.
I get you. It's almost like leaving your semen on the pine wood floor.
It's exactly
you
like
have
that.
a refractory period. All right, so
that gets us to Genesis 39.
and we cut hard back to Joseph back in Egypt. He's hanging out at a Potpourri's
It's new scene,
house.
new setting.
Yeah, he's the what did I call him? The chairman of the guard, chairman of the board.
I don't even remember that they gave him a title.
No. He worked for the Pharaoh's.
You're talking about
the guy that led the guard.
Potiphar.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
It's a title.
It's like the
man.
Master at Arms or whatever.
Like that,
Why is it an important title?
Oh, Captain of the Guard.
Captain of the
Well,
Guard. All
I
right.
think he's the hit lead in the military, I guess, or at
Okay.
least maybe the Pharaoh's private guard. I don't know.
So he's an important guy, right? He's like right.
So he's working for this guy, and this guy loves him. He's like, Joseph's a cool ass dude.
Well, you know what it is? Because God is like performing his like mystical like shit, like he's sort of like
he's
sprinkling
blessing,
him in fairy dust.
Yeah. So
Like pheromone, some kind of pheromone shit that's making everyone like.
well, it didn't hurt that he was not only handsome, he was good looking as well.
Yeah.
So I might have to check my vocabulary words. Like I kind of like just made them, synonymous. So I guess handsome and good looking different.
I don't think so, but maybe handsome.
Like if I if I had to pick somebody that was handsome and good looking, I think it'd be my fellow podcaster here. Like, I think you fit both of those, man.
Yeah, you think I'm handsome and good looking.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that.
That's the least I could do.
I wish I could return the compliment.
I was like, okay, this is where you return and go, yeah, I like your hair.
I like that massive scab on your head.
Man, that thing hurt when it hit me, man. It wasn't so bad. That's why you wear a helmet in construction sites.
It's all right, man. One day we'll have our own studio.
Yeah. And it'll be blood. It'll be paid for with my blood.
Hey.
Okay, so yeah, he's cool. And he kind of like
so he takes over the house, right? Like Joshua
and what's his name?
Potiphar
loves it. He just chills out. He's like, all right, you got everything.
Yeah, he's running the whole show. He's like Ask Jeeves to the nth degree.
Yeah. And this dude just chilling and eating and drinking his wine and just letting him handle everything. He's got a good life. He chose well buying this guy.
And there's a reason that you mentioned that he's handsome and
the
good
ladies
looking.
love him.
Yeah, and especially one lady. And by the way, I look through this section
ladies love Cool Joseph. He's the LL Cool J of his day.
Well, an around the way girl is about to like get all up on him. And what's weird is
LL, you're welcome to come host with us.
Her name's not mentioned at all. Like I looked through the section many times, and apparently her name
just his wife.
Not important. Yeah. The name's not important because she's going to be a major character in Joseph's life at the very least, because
life changing.
So Potiphar's wife is constantly hitting on Joseph. She's inviting him to enter her all the time.
And to his credit, he's like, yo, lady, think she's ass or she's just like, he's just not interested because that's his master's wife. Like,
so
well, he does say it.
Here's what I'm thinking.
I think she's like Lawaxana Troy.
And
just won't leave him alone.
This is no offense
to me,
to people who are on the spectrum, but you got to think there's a level of autism going on with Joseph, because we've already established how he couldn't read his brother's reactions to like when he got his robe. Then he kept telling them, what's that sound?
It says free up space. This is like I'm running out of hard drive space. I told you I just got a new computer.
Let's wrap it up.
All right, we don't get much left, man.
So he couldn't read the reactions of his brothers, and he kept telling them like his dreams.
Dude,
so
man.
I think like he might be on the spectrum.
I'm going to stop you. No,
why?
He's just self-absorbed, and he was daddy's little boy. He could do no wrong, so he just doesn't. It was all about him. He's a narcissist.
I don't know. I think the way we interpret the Bible says a lot about like who we are, maybe. I don't know what it says about who we are, but like the way you interpret it.
I don't know. I wonder if we'll still be friends when we go through this Bible.
So either way, whether or not he's like a daddy's boy and he's like all innocent and shy, or whether in fact he is on the spectrum, you can decide as listeners. But he is not accepting her advances.
No.
He doesn't accept her advances. And then finally one day...
somehow she gets him in the bedroom with him, with her. And she's like, yo, do me. And he's like, no. She grabs onto his garment. He bolts.
Yeah, he takes off.
His Velcro garment comes off in her hand. So I know he got naked, or at least it revealed his junk.
Right.
Because she storms out, holding his garment, and goes, this filthy Hebrew tried to trick us. My husband brought a dirty Hebrew in here to trick me and insult me, and he tried to basically rape me.
Now here's the
thing. Now I assume he was circumcised.
Did they not know that he was a Hebrew? They bought him as a slave. I'm assuming they washed him, they inspected him. Like they must have known he was.
It's like on the side window sticker, right? When you buy a car, it's like. Place of manufacture and stuff like that. Yeah. Circumcised.
I didn't even know for a slave that cheap that they would even bother putting a sticker on it. It's just like get them off the lot.
It's the bad fluorescent wording on the windshield, like super clean, extra clean.
Right.
AC works. highway desert miles.
New tires,
Yeah.
or like tire in the trunk, like spare tire in the trunk. Yeah. So
she screams rape.
yeah. So I mean, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So he didn't give it to her, and now she's
like the guy the girl in Wedding Crashers that Vince Vaughn ends up getting with. She's just like relentless.
I only saw that movie once.
It's I'm not big into comedies, but I thought it was funny.
Vince Vaughn is the guy that like I'm like the way you are towards Ben Stiller. I'm like that.
No,
towards Vince Vaughn.
I'm that way towards the co-star of that movie, Owen Wilson.
Oh yeah, Owen
That
Wilson.
dude plays the same guy in every movie. I think he's just playing himself.
There was actually one movie he was good in. I forgot the name of it. He plays, and it was a dramatic role.
Armageddon.
Now that movie, by the way, was the stupid version of Deep Impact, which is a movie that's doesn't get its due.
That's a fantastic movie as well.
Deep Impact didn't get its due because I think everybody was waiting for a disaster movie, but that's not what the movie was about.
It was about the deep impact of on people's lives.
Right.
And
like how do people reconcile with like the eventual...
Yeah, but come on. I want you to go do the YouTubes of the Armageddon presidential speech and shuttle launch.
No, I can't do it. That movie's fucking stupid.
Yeah. So, I'm cheering for humanity there, unlike in this story.
So I don't even remember how we got on.
We were talking about Owen Wilson.
So he played a pilot during the Serbian Civil War, and his plane gets shot down like behind enemy lines. He's an American pilot, so America was like bombing them. NATO was bombing.
Did he get his nose smashed in?
Bombing the Serbs or the Croats, I forgot who, and he had to eject from this plane and behind enemy lines, I think, because he was behind enemy lines. I think that's the name of the movie. He was good at that. You should check it out. You'd like that movie too. So anyway,
and the prequel was called Up in the Air because he hadn't been shot down by enemy lines yet.
Yeah, the prequel was like 3 hours of him just flying around. Whee! Whee! And so Potiphar's wife, Jew, rape, or Hebrew, whatever it was.
See, there you go again.
What?
Nobody said anything about a Jew.
I'm sorry. You're right. And I corrected myself. I don't even have time to correct myself.
You really don't.
You're like really fucking on me. You're really on me.
Listen, man, you haven't been here for 2 weeks. You had plenty of time to rest. You don't need this faux pas.
So
I'm sorry. Is there anything that's a faux pas that's not fashion related? Because I always hear fashion faux pas. So was a faux pas only related to fashion mistakes?
Faux pas. You were saying faux pas.
Okay, now you're going to correct my freaking speaking?
All right. I could
and nothing gets past you,
I could not say anything and have you keep saying faux
that would be very out of character, you not saying anything.
Oh, zing.
Zing. All right. So
where's that gif where the guy's like falling over and his friend's like, oh, shit, yo. You know that one?
Yeah, I know the one.
That's my favorite.
Screaming
gif.
at the camera.
Yeah,
running at the camera.
He's like, and it keeps like, it just repeats over and over and over.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So, Potiphar's like, what's going on? My wife's all up in arms. And he finds out, or he hears, that Joseph tried to rape his wife.
Right. So now, are there no trials?
Why would there be a trial? First of all, he's a slave, so he probably doesn't have the rights of like...
Okay. If he was a wealthy landowner, he probably...
maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, this before the Magna Carta.
Yeah.
I don't think there were trials. I think, I think the king or the pharaoh in this case, or the pharaoh's like right-hand man, which this guy sounds like the captain of the guard, sounds like he's in the cabinet.
And Charlemagne the God has not come yet, so...
Not at all, with his wisdom.
So he ends up getting carted off to jail.
Yeah, he arrests him and he throws him in prison.
And you think that's going to suck for him, right?
But it doesn't, because...
it wasn't like that for mobsters.
God's grace.
Yeah.
Like, Joseph winds up running the prison, basically.
Yeah, the warden or the head guard.
He
jailer.
Gets his, like, pick of bitches in prison.
He's like, this guy's really cool.
Yeah, he gets the showers all to himself.
And what's nuts is, they even describe how the jailer basically just chills out, eating, drinking wine, while Joseph runs the prison.
Joseph runs it.
Like, that's what happens.
It's not weird. It's God is like casting his spells. He's protecting Joseph.
So do you think we're going to get like an Oz-like couple of chapters? Like, some good behind prison walls type stuff?
I don't think so, because I had to read ahead to know what like we're gonna do next episode. At least in the next several chapters. Well, actually, I didn't like read. I skimmed through to see like what would be a good stopping point. So it's very possible that we get like a prison chapter.
Do you think maybe so
like
I get
Shawshank?
so yeah,
Maybe he crawls through like a mile of shit to get out clean on the other side.
Why he did it on Taco Night, I'll never know. Do you think maybe once we
who's the posters like Methuselah the poster on the wall?
Who's Methuselah?
I don't know, but it's just a funny name, you know, because like in the movie it was like Raquel Welch and like you know who's on the wall like back then in his prison. Like which woman is he beating it to? Sarah, she was hot.
I hope he's not beating it because then semen ends up on the pine floor and that doesn't go well.
Oh, that's right. Well, he's not like deceiving anyone.
Or he's edging, like he's really not. And I think that's where we leave off, friend.
All right, so his balls are the size of like medicine balls. He's edging all these years, and that's where we're gonna leave it off.
All right,
so next episode, we're gonna cover, if you want to follow along and be prepared. We're going to read or discuss Genesis 40 through 42. And we will see you next time.
All right. Peace.